I'm Lynn Snodgrass. I'm the CEO of the best doggone chamber in the Pacific Northwest. I love my job. I even love coming back and having my job, but I am also looking forward to retirement this time. It was graduating last time, but this continuing education stuff is hard. I'm not going to get a degree. So I also want to thank our presenting sponsors, and we actually have several of them here in person today. Aero Sanitary Service. Josh, thank you for getting off the golf course and making it here today. Appreciate you doing that. We have Umpqua Bank, Northwest Natural, Mountain Community College, Dr. Skari, and it's one of our presenters today. We have stakeholder sponsors, the Gresham Barlow School District, and MetroEast Community Media is our media sponsor. Keith is so generous with his time. He gets here at 9:30 in the morning and he sets everything up, even for a small room. There's a lot of details to take care of. And he's running back and forth with cords. So Keith, thank you very much. But I also want to remind you that if you missed something in this presentation, you can watch it again because he does record it and then it's rebroadcast. And you can pick up these times on the table that's outside, and the chamber will have them as well. So the importance of a chamber is, it's obviously there's a lot of value there, obviously, but the importance also is to broaden what we do and who we are. And we do that not just with the members, but with the board members as well. And board members that we have today, our past president, Brian York, is here. Brian, thank you. He's with with Clackamas County Bank, Community Bank, Clackamas County Bank. And he has a billboard on Haley and Highway 26 that I can read now because there's more police on the street, so I slower and I can actually read the words that are there. But I have been telling him that 80 miles an hour, his font is too small on the billboard. But at 70, it works just fine. I want to tell you that I've been testing it every morning. There would be the construction zone. There we go. And another board member that we have with us today is Dr. Skari. We appreciate so much all of you. The chamber works hard to continue to bring you and all of our members value. And what is value to one of you might not be to another. So we have a very broad base of opinion and view on value. The Business and Leaders Luncheon is just one way to provide that value. Topics are always important, and the speakers provide information that we need to hear, process, and then utilize. Today we have a twofer, bridges and bonds. They are topics that are bookends for East County. To the east, we have Mountain Community College and the bond, and to the west, we have the Burnside Bridge and its earthquake readiness. And right now I want to take just a brief moment to thank Neil Jensen for being part of that Burnside Bridge project. I called him about 4 years ago and said, hey, would you consider doing this for about a year? He said, well, I might try. And it was to represent East County, not just Gresham and not just the chamber, but be a voice for East County on that committee. And I had no idea what I was talking him into or asking him to do. And 4 years later, he is still there, obviously he's heard all this and he's still here today. So I want to thank you, Neil, publicly again for all your work that you've done with this. And when we get done with the presentation, we'll get to see some of the work that Neil was involved in decisions making. And when the earthquake comes and whether the bridge is standing or not, we'll have Neil to thank. So there we go. All right, we're going to move on to our first speaker. Our first speaker today is Dr. Lisa Skari, the president of Mountain Community College. Dr. Skari, you've got something planned, and it's not a bridge. It's kind of a bridge to education into the future. But there's something planned, and we would like you to give us a glimpse of that. And then when you do, be sure and introduce your board members. Okay? Dr. Skari?
Do I need to use the microphone? Okay. And I'm not doing this solo. I always believe in strength in numbers, so I've got two of my board members joining me, Annette Matson and Diane McKeel, if you'd like to come up. And I also want to give a shout out to Marie Tooney in the back, another one of our board members. We figured 4 was too many up here, so we were trying to.
She's admired. She represents me.
So Lisa Skari, Mount Hood Community College president. I have this honor of being in my 7th year here. Time flies when you're having fun. And I am joined by my board members if you want to introduce yourselves and where you're from.
Good afternoon. My name is Annette Mattson. I am just starting my 8th year as a trustee for Mount Hood Community College Board. I represent District 4, which is entirely within the David Douglas School District.
And I'm Diane McKeel, and I'm chair of the Board of Education this year, and I'm starting my 8th year as well, and I represent all of the Gresham area and out east to Cascade Locks.
So we do appreciate the opportunity to share with you our plans to repair and prepare and build a community college for all. Now, we are considering placing a bond on the May 2025 ballot, and we're in the process of sharing our proposal around the community. We're getting feedback to see if these projects really meet the needs and what you think of them in general. Before we get to the details, I want to turn this over to Dr. Skari, to Lisa, to share a little bit more about our college.
Thank you. So many of you know about the college. I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I just want to hit a few highlights. There we go. Mount Hood Community College serves a 950 square mile district. It's a really large district. We run everywhere from 82nd Street in East Portland, along the river, up Cascade Locks, up to Government Camp, and then down through parts of Clackamas to capture Sandy, Boring, parts of Damascus, and a little sliver of Happy Valley. We've got over 1,000 employees at 3 different primary locations. And we have been here almost 60 years. Long time. We have a wide variety of programs. The 2-year degree programs and certificates you're probably most familiar with are credit programs. We do a lot of non-credit business community training. We have our Head Start program, which serves 21 sites through East Multnomah County. We do business training. Our Small Business Development Center offers classes. And this year we have our new 4-year degree in cybersecurity starting. And I checked yesterday, we already have 24 students registered and ready to go. And we still have a month for those enrollments to increase. So we're quite excited about that. We also do, people sometimes ask, what do you do around the trades? We serve over 6,000 apprentices annually in about 25 different trade fields. Few accomplishments, I love saying this. Last year, Wallet Hub did an analysis of about 650 community colleges in the country. Mount Hood Community College was number 4 for the highest quality education at the most affordable cost. Yeah. A lot of that affordability credit goes to the board members who every year when I bring the budget, they say, can you keep the tuition a little bit cheaper? And so we do our best to make that happen. Like I said, we've served more than 1 million students in those 60 years, but also important, especially to the business community, we've got about a $423 million impact annually. That's money that's brought to us because of the college, that's spent by our employees. And so I always like to share that we bring a return on an investment, especially of taxpayers' dollars. Our numbers last year were almost to 19,000 students. About 36% of those are students of color, with 21% of those being Hispanic, which is our largest population of students of color. Primarily, we're part-time students, and our average age is right around 27. I like to show this as a snapshot if you're always kind of curious what's the relationship to your school district. This shows you 5 years of enrollments. So the dual enrolled enrollments, those are students that are still in high school that are getting college credit through what we call College Now, which is a program. And we've been averaging, got my numbers right here. Sorry, I don't have these all memorized. The 5-year average on that has been 475 students per year. And then the other students, those are students that have Gresham Barlow transcript that have come to us. And so these would be clearly not current students. And that's around 1,150 students. So last year, or if we look at the last 5 years, we average about 1,600 students that came from the Gresham Barlow School District. Reynolds School District, we're looking at about 900 students a year. So I always like to make that connection to our residents are coming to your community college.
So in case you're not familiar with why educational entities go out for bonds, community colleges are like K through 12 school districts. We need to pass bonds to pay for our facilities. And this is different from state universities. State universities, the state government gives them their funding. So to update our facilities, we are looking at a possible May ballot. And this is really important because we haven't passed a capital bond in over 50 years. So that's before some of you were born. The campus that we have right now was built for $12.5 million. And I have to say our college facilities staff have done a really great job at trying to find the money in our budget to do the capital and repairs and other work that we have needed. So anyway, but we need to look at this at this point, right? 50 years, it's been a long time. So to inform our bond, we've done a lot of research, we did a lot of collection of data. We started with a strategic plan, we've done an academic plan, we've done an enrollment plan, and then the college developed a 5-year comprehensive facilities plan. And the projects and needs identified in those came to more than $200 million. So we formed a bond development work group made up of community members, employees, students, and board members. And one thing I do want to emphasize in that facilities plan, one of the things we learned is that we don't need to build new facilities. We need to seriously upgrade and modernize what we already have.
So here on the next slide, you will see the members of our bond development work group. You'll notice a number of chamber members, you'll notice a number of community folks. We tried to reach out to all of the stakeholders. And so over a series of meetings, they looked at the projects that we had and they prioritized the projects. Now, all of the projects come directly out of the facilities master plan. So it's not like me saying, oh, I'd love to see this done at the college, or Annette saying, I think we should do this. They're all out of our facilities master plan. So using that information, we categorized the projects into themes. So the themes are repair, prepare, and build a college for all. So we will repair and maintain our assets from the 70s. As Annette said, we have not passed a bond in 50 years. So many of our facilities our facilities group they do absolutely the best they can on keeping up on things on campus. So we want to prepare our students for the high demand jobs. We want them to be able to be working on the equipment they will be working on when they go out into the community and get their jobs. We want to connect to serving all of our community. And you'll see on this slide where we're at. We're a large district. We're Government Camp, we're Sandy, some of Damascus, Happy Valley, up to Cascade Locks, of course Gresham, Troutdale, Fairview, Wood Village, are all a part of our district. So our district goes to 82nd on the west, and then up to Cascade Locks on the east, and then around Mount Hood to Sandy and the communities up there. So the total bond proposed is $131 million.
So a little more detail on what does this all mean. So under the repair category, this is about renovating our aging spaces. I don't know how many of you were in a classroom in the 70s. I was, right? You remember what they looked like, right? Not the best environment for current technology and what we're seeing our students learn on today. It's also about updating and preserving our college assets. I like to point out that we haven't done much, excuse me, let me rephrase that, erase. We've done a lot with what we've had. Fortunately, the nice thing about building the structure it was in the 60s is it's withheld, but we are looking at some things around retrofitting, seismic repairs, things that you just need to do when you have a facility that's 50 years old. It's also focused on doing some energy updates so that we can actually save money in the long run by being more energy efficient. I think our boiler is original, so 1960s. We could use some help on that. So at the crux of this is really the prepare. This is what we do, right? We're preparing the future workforce. And one of the signature items out of this is we have very strong, highly enrolled healthcare programs. For those of you who may not know, we have a registered nursing program, a CNA, or certified nursing assistant, a medical assisting, dental hygienist, surgical tech, physical therapy assistant, respiratory care, mental health, and I feel like I'm missing one in there, but a strong core. And one of the things we want to do is create a real-life learning lab, so our nursing students get to work next to our medical assisting students who get to work with our CNA students, so they can actually simulate what it's going to be like in the real world, which will actually increase their skills and we believe make them more prepared for that actual world of work. With this, modernizing our science labs, and then also securing the safety of our students. For those of you who have been on campus, you'll know that we have a lot of external walkways. At this point, we have no ability to lock the facilities down. We literally have to take an Allen wrench, go up to the door, turn it. And in a crisis situation, I hate to think about what could happen. And so wanting that lockdown capability, not only on our main campus, but also our Bruning Center, which is co-located with Cal, and also our Maywood Park Center. And then lastly, around building a college for all, we learned from the pandemic that all classes don't have to be in person, and there's actually the flexibility of being able to take hybrid or remote or online courses. And so this is really ensuring that we can serve our residents up in Government Camp, Cascade Locks. It's also about physical accessibility. We have one elevator, actually we have two elevators, but they're both on the south end of campus. We want to make sure, I've been told not to talk with my hands, that's what I get. We want to make sure that our north end of campus has that same accessibility. And I know of special interest, this does include upgrades to the pool. We are installing a retractable cover so there can be year-round use of the pool, which will allow us to bring events to the community during those winter months. It will be covered. It'll be the same footprint as when we had that blow-up dome. I know that that's been a concern of folks. So, and it actually will have some additional seating. And so that's one of the hallmarks we feel, especially for the business community, is important, because you know how much that pool brings in as far as people who shop and eat and stay here.
So what does our bond measure cost? So the total bond proposal was $131 million. And that estimated cost is 25 cents per thousand of assessed value, which will cost the average homeowner in our district $5 a month. Remember, our district is big, and we're spreading those costs out. So we do believe that this small investment in the college will provide significant dividends to our community and to our students. Remember, we offer quality, affordable education close to home. And remember back, we're number 4 in the country. And this is not a designation we apply for or ask for. They do this. And so we're so happy to learn we're number 4 in the country. Also, the construction of these projects will bring in significant dollars that will help with the economic benefit.
So we're currently stage 3. This is the community input, tell us what you think part. And the board is going to use this feedback. We've been using the feedback we've gotten as we've gone throughout our area to find out with this presentation. And we'll take that into account just to help us decide what to put on the ballot, when to put it on the ballot. And then when the board makes a decision, that campaign will begin. So we do want to hear what you think. We're looking at this fall, but we decided to move this to May, and that's going to give us more time to hear from you. We want your feedback. We want you to let us know if we can provide you with additional information or help. So we've got, there's the email for questions or comments or anything you're thinking about this. We do thank you for this opportunity. I forgot to mention to you that I myself am one of 3 of us on the board that are Mount Hood Community College alumni. And I would say I went to the college as a 30-year-old new mom with a full-time job and 2 kids, and was able to take care of my requirements and then transfer on to Warner Pacific and build the kind of job that let me care for my family. So, you know, the alumni are right here in the community. This college makes a difference in so many lives. I bet we've got alumni here too. So please do let us know what you think, and thanks again for your time.
Do you want questions? If anybody has a question, the team would be willing to answer them right now. Do you have any questions? Yeah. Okay.
What is the, hi, I'm Brenna with Organic Grow Company, and thank you for sharing what you shared today. It's really impressive. What's the major kind of tone of the community so far as you've kind of reached out? I'm just curious.
It's been incredibly positive in the presentations, and we've also been doing a lot of the community events. There's been, a few questions, which has helped us tweak our messaging, but I would say the one thing we've also realized is because our district is so big, we weren't able to cover as much ground as we wanted to share what was going on, and so that additional time allows us to get to other places like Cascade Locks further up the mountain. But it's been positive.
I don't know if you know, but several years ago, Marie could tell us when a huge bond passed in Sandy. And if you backed up a college bond right away to a community like Sandy, they go, "Are you kidding?" And then Gresham School District passed a bond, and same thing happened. So the timing of this has something to do with the competition with other things that are going on. So I'm sure that was a recognizable decision-making point too. Any other questions? Okay, if we don't have any other questions, Dr. Skari and team, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, the other bookend. Ryan, you want to come on up, and we're going to introduce you as we go. Do we need to do anything with the slide? We're all set. Oh my gosh. That's because you didn't let me touch it. So it's got done. Okay, Ryan, come on to this side, my good ear side. So Ryan, this is Ryan Rucker, and he works for what county?
Multnomah County.
And how long have you worked for Multnomah County?
About a year and a half.
And a year and a half?
Yeah. Shortly.
Okay. And do you have a title at Multnomah County?
I am an engineer.
You need to get closer.
I'm an engineer.
So this engineer, you came all the way out here to do this. What is just an engineer is your title, or is just, I'm the communication engineer for the county of Multnomah?
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer by trade. For the EQRB project, I'll be serving during the construction phase, so I'll be helping out the construction manager, general contractor, complete all their work.
Okay, good.
So.
Thank you. And I want to compliment Ryan as well. He got up at dark 30. I have no idea where he lives, but it's not in Gresham because I've seen the voter rolls and he's not here. And came all the way to Mount Hood Community College to one of our board meetings and gave a presentation, early morning board meeting. And he was so good we invited him back. So Ryan, with that, I'm going to give you the floor.
Thank you. Yes, like she mentioned, I did a brief about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of good Q&A, a lot of good interaction. So I'm really happy to be back and kind of talk about where we've been, where we're going on Earthquake Ready Burnside, and then take some Q&A. Spoiler, we have finally decided on a bridge type, so you guys will see that today. And hopefully I can work this. Here we go. All right, so like I mentioned, we're going to give a little background of the project and then kind of where we're at right now. So the reason for a new Burnside Bridge, as you all may know, there's this higher probability that the big one is going to happen soon. And of the 9 downtown bridges, we don't expect any of them to be immediately usable after this big event. So we need to build a new seismically resilient bridge. Why did we pick Burnside? Well, it's already on an established emergency network. So this will help connect people and goods across the region after a major event like this. Project timeline. So it started back in 2017, a long time ago, way before I was with the county. In the feasibility study, during this phase, went through a lot of different options. What would it look like if we had to build a new bridge? Would we build a double-decker bridge? Would we move the current bridge left or right and build the new bridge in its place? Do we just take down the old bridge and build one and have it closed for a certain period of time? So we went from about 100 options in that feasibility stage to about 4 in the environmental review phase. And in the environmental review, we'll kind of touch in depth into that in just a second, but that's where we took about 4 to 6 different options and really refined what we were going to build, or what we're going to build here in a few years. Where we're currently at in the design phase, it's going to last about 2.5 years. This is where you get a lot of the really smart people sitting behind a cubicle, you know, doing all the calculations on concrete, steel, all that stuff to help build this bridge. The big item that you're going to see that's going to affect all of us is going to be that construction phase. So we expect early construction to start in the later phases of 2026. A lot of that is going to be staging for the general contractor. And then we'll also be doing detour work, so rerouting people around Burnside because we're going to be shutting it down. And then in the early parts of 2027, that's when official bridge construction will start. We will demolish the existing bridge, and it'll be down for roughly 5 years until about 2031. All right, like I mentioned, the environmental review phase. So this is federally required to go through this phase. This looks at how do we impact and affect not only the people, but the environments around us. There's a lot of community involvement. You know, we've been doing that all leading up to this point. We had a big community involvement session during the month of July. We sent out a survey, had a lot of different interactions with different groups around the community. And this is also where we have the CDAG, Community Design Advisory Group, which Neil is a member of. And we've been doing a lot of outreach and getting a lot of input on what people want or would like to see with the new bridge. But then what comes out of the environmental review phase is the preferred alternative. And that's based on a lot of a different analysis that led up to this decision. And from that, the preferred alternative was to replace with a long span bridge. So the current bridge is your typical steel girder bridge. So there's a lot of foundations, piers, and short spans. And unfortunately, on the east bank of the Willamette, there's a lot of liquefiable soil. And in the event of a seismic earthquake, that liquefiable soil would slough off into the river, and you wouldn't have foundations for the bridge to stand on. So to resolve this risk, we identified that a long span bridge on the east side would be adequate so that we touch base onto solid ground. Closure and traffic detouring during the bridge. So for bridge construction, we are going to completely shut down Burnside. We will detour bike, ped, and vehicular traffic off of the bridge. So Bike and ped will more likely go north to the Steel Bridge and be able to cross and go to the west side from there. And car traffic will move south to the Morrison Bridge. And there's a couple different routes. We're still finalizing. Oh, I did that same thing. I like to speak with my hands too. We're still finalizing those detour routes on what they will exactly look like, but that's kind of just generally what we're looking at right now, moving bike and ped north, vehicles south, because we don't want to push all traffic to one bridge and then cause that to get bogged down, and then all of us are dealing with that headache for 5 years. All right, was there any questions so far on any of the information that I've shared? No? All right, so we'll jump into the design phase. So like I mentioned, from the preferred alternative was a long span bridge. There was two overarching types of designs. On the top you have the cable stay bridge, which has a lot of like modern characteristics, very sleek in design, similar to what you'd see on the Tillicum. And then on the bottom is the tight arch bridge. That's more of your traditional type bridge that you'd see across the country or state. And then from those two general options, we refined down to 6 sub-options of those. The 3 on the top are your cable stay. You have your goalposts, your V-tower, and your inverted Y. And then on the bottom are the tight arch, your unbraced vertical, your braced basket handle, which is where the 2 arch ribs touch and meet in the middle, and then your braced vertical arch, similar to what you see in Fremont. And some other similar bridges to the ones that are already in downtown Portland. Up in the top left, the goalpost tower, that's kind of like Tillicum. All right, summer outreach. So during the month of July, we had a huge survey go out to the community. We did a lot of events in the month of July. We did coffee and donuts for the bikers on Burnside. We had a night out at the OMSI where we did a real-time event. We had over 90 people attend the event, and they got to ask real-time questions to people on our team. We had the A&E there. We had the PM from the general contractor BBP, which is Burnside Bridge Partners. They're a joint venture. We had the county engineer there and a few others to answer all sorts of questions about the bridge. We did a live webinar on the bottom left. So that's Sarah Hurwitz. She's our PI lead for the county. She was inside one of the Burnside Bridge towers, and she was taking real-time questions from people that joined in on the webinar. And then, yeah, this is also the night out at the OMSI. So you can see we had a lot of people come out and give their input. And then we also did Portland Saturday Market. That was a lot of fun. I did the first weekend, and I didn't think we'd get a lot of people to our booth, but it was busy. And we had a kind of a good location. We were right there at that crosswalk, so we got a lot of people coming in and giving their votes. So, yeah, just some numbers of like what we got. So from that summer outreach event in July, we got 119,000 survey views and over 19,000 survey responses. So this was drastically higher than what we had expected. Typically, they said we would maybe see in a range of about half of those 2 top numbers. So the fact that we got so many people viewing and then also providing responses was yeah, really nice to see, because we like to see that the community, not just our internal team, but everyone in our community has interest in what we're doing and wants to provide their input. Did a lot of briefings, breakfast on the bridge attendees. We did an OMSI panel. One morning, all the OMSI employees gathered, and we gave this brief to them, and they had a lot of great questions. We also did translations online, and we did a few briefings to different underserved communities, Black, Spanish, Russian, Japanese, Chinese, all those. So it was really great to just get the word out there to a lot of these different communities. And again, night out at the OMSI with the Burnside Bridge team. So we had 5 members plus Sarah Hurwitz, who is our PI lead again, kind of leading those discussions and taking questions real time from our community members. and the community engagement liaisons, that's what I mentioned. So we did all of those. They had a real-time translator translate this brief into their native language, and then we were there just to provide technical expertise to some of the questions that they had. I thought that was a really great experience, getting other people's insight on what they liked about the bridge or what they wanted to see with the new bridge was really, really cool. All right, Community Design Advisory Group. So the CDAG, who again, we have a member here from the CDAG. He's done a great job and been involved for many years, but made up of 20 community members that represent all different interests and input. They've been going at this for, a few years now. When did you guys start, Neil?
Oh, I was feeling the question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say again?
When did you start on the CDAG? It's been a hand.
CDAG, when CDAG started, what, maybe 10 months ago?
Yeah.
And then 4 years before that.
Yeah, 4 years before that.
Since
So.
before Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. So, but they've been involved the past few weeks. These last 3 weeks have been to narrow down to our final decision on the bridge type. So they've had a lot of hard work, a lot of deliberation, a lot of good dialogue and back and forth on recommendations on what we should select as that final bridge type. So really hats off to everybody in this group. They have done an amazing job, and we're going to be able to take that recommendation now to the board. Just a few pictures of them kind of, doing their thing as the CDAG. So again, like we mentioned, we had 3 cable stay and 3 tight art options that we brought to the CDAG. They did a lot of deliberation, and over those past few weeks, they came to the final recommendation of the inverted Y option, which is a cable stay bridge. This was one of the options that was designed by the architect that the A&E hired. It's a beautiful bridge, and I am super excited to get to the construction phase. So, yeah.
Okay, just a comment on this. There were a lot of options, and as you just saw, 20 people on the committee, and everybody on that committee is really, really opinionated. Me included. But when we finally got it distilled down to 3 different options, and we took a vote on each one, this is the only one. This was probably 18 out of the 20 people on that committee voted for this. Nearly unanimous, which I've been on a lot of committees, and you just don't get unanimous decisions very often. So this was the overall winner.
Yeah. All right, and then the next steps. So we will take that recommendation. We have already applied for a resolution to be sent to the board. We will be briefing them September 3rd, and then we will meet again on September 12th to have them adopt that bridge type recommendation, and then we will proceed into the design, which you see there when you advance to the 30%, that's kind of the initial stages of bridge type associated with all of the engineering background that goes into that bridge type. So this is really when the design team gets to kick off and really go. And that should happen later this year, probably October timeframe. So with that, are there any questions? I don't know if I went too fast, but.
You did good. Okay, any questions? Yeah.
We've got a couple over here. Hold on, Neil, just a second. I know they can hear you, but you can't be recorded without the microphone.
This isn't a surprise, Ryan. I warned you this was coming.
Is it
Tell us
funding?
how we're going to finance this project. I mean, because, $1 million here, $1 million there, pretty soon you're talking about a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. And our current estimate for the bridge is about $900 million. We don't know if that is expected to go up or down, but that's the range that we have based on the estimate that we did a few years ago. Currently, we have about 1/3 funded. So 1/3 of that is coming from the county's vehicle registration fee. We've got a lot of little bits and pieces of money from state and federal funding, which doesn't fill that other 2/3 gap, but we're working diligently right now to get a big federal grant to be able to close that gap and at least get us through design and through most of the parts of construction, and then close the other gap as we work through those years.
Can you get pre-FEMA money? It's going to happen, so we can get the money now, you know? Is that a possibility?
I don't know if that is,
You
but
might
I
run
could
it
bring
by.
that question back to our team and see.
Dina, did you have a question?
So I had the opportunity to tour underneath the Burnside Bridge.
Oh,
Was
it's
very
fun.
cool.
Yes.
It was very cool. If anybody else wanted to do that, how would they arrange that?
They could reach out to myself or someone on our team, and we'd be happy to give them a tour.
Because it was awesome.
It's really cool to go inside of Burnside because it's a bascule. It has those huge counterweights and that open pier, so you're standing down there looking hundreds of feet up in the air at a, 100 by 50 foot block of concrete that's just hanging freely. Yeah, it's pretty insane.
And what's fascinating is they built that in 1927, all this engineering using slide rules.
Yeah.
That was neat.
We have a question up here. A question? Okay,
I think there was one in the back.
question in the back.
Hi, I'm just curious on how many people cross the Burnside Bridge daily, and how is that going to impact the traffic that's being detoured into areas like the Convention Center and Rose Garden?
I don't have the number off the top of my head for crossing Burnside. If I took a stab at it based off of what I heard our engineers speak to a couple months ago, I think it's between the 30 and 40,000 average daily traffic that passes over. Inside downtown, we expect to see some congestion, but not typical from what you would already find on the bridge already, because we are rerouting different modes, and people are going to find kind of the path of least resistance. There's a lot of bridges in downtown. I think, this is going to offer the opportunity for people to find better ways to get around town, but we don't anticipate that congestion to add any time to anyone's travel day. They should be able to get from point A to point B in relatively the same amount of time.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yep.
We talked earlier, and we have like about 35 heavy vehicles that move about 5 million cases of produce through our region, like every year. And we always have trucks on the road. So I was curious about the business impact and the studies that you did on traffic that impact businesses and how we can plan ahead.
Yeah, so I know we're working diligently with the city of Portland and PBOT to get that out to as many people as possible. I can probably touch base with you after this, and we can connect offline to kind of show you what those impacts would look like. But I know we've been working with a lot of community members, that way we can get that word out. Impacts to businesses will probably only affect people that are like right on the east and west shorelines of the river, because there are going to be intermittent closures to different roads and things like that. But outside of that, I can't give a clear answer to traffic, because it's going to be something that we're going to have to work through. Early on, it's probably going to be a little clunky because people are getting used to not having that bridge anymore. But I think people will find, efficient ways to get around town.
Any other questions for Ryan?
Well, I have one more.
Oh, well, Diane, you have one? Okay, I'll do her first because it's a shorter walk.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, thanks, Ryan. And in all transparency, I was a Multnomah County Commissioner back when working on this bridge for a lot of years, but
Not when it was built.
no, not when it was built. Well, I don't know. Maybe when it was built. Who knows? My question was, now in one of your pictures, you had a schematic of a lift. And I know it's a lift bridge now. It's not going to be a lift bridge. This is not going to be a lift bridge.
Yes, it will. Yes.
Oh.
It'll still be a bascule bridge. So we'll have two leaves that meet in the middle, and it'll open it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it is still going to be. And then my question also is about the east and west end. There's been a lot of buildings built particularly the east end, but also there's a lot around the west. So is that going to work within the footprint of, I mean, I guess it's going to have to because you're not going to take buildings down, but how will that work? Because I know some of the original designs for the bridge were more lanes, and is that still going to hold? There'll be more lanes on the bridge?
There will be the same amount of lanes, they'll just be allocated differently, and we'll have more bike ped space on each side of the bridge. To answer your first question, I hope this answers it. So the new bridge will lie within the same right-of-way of the existing bridge, so we won't be expanding out into any buildings right-of-way or taking up other people's space. So on the east and west ends, it will basically be the same kind of traffic and layout as what we currently have.
Okay, and the data shows evacuation, and that big one that's coming is gonna work as we envisioned it working.
And I think in an event like that, if we have 2 lanes and 2 lanes going in either direction, if they needed to alter that to be able to move people more efficiently, I'm sure that's something that the emergency managers would probably identify and, to get people out of the region to safety.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's provided the streets are accessible too. I mean, not very many cars could go through and there's no streets accessible. Dina, you have one more question?
So, are there talks going on with TriMet with regard to how to move people more effectively when the Burnside Bridge is closed? Discount ridership, more buses?
Yes, so we actually just had a week-long works group session with TriMet, specifically revolving around the light rail. How that's going to stay operational, because the blue line and red line currently go under that west side of the bridge. That's still ongoing. We're still trying to figure out what we can do to keep them operational while we do demo and do reconstruction. From what I've seen, it looks like it will be done. We're still going to meet all of their clearance requirements, so we should be able to, while we're doing all the stuff on the bridge, they can kind of continue operations as usual. As far as the busing side of things, the buses will still operate and go over Steel Bridge, if I remember right. So that won't be changing as far as regards to what goes over Burnside. So
There'll be a lot of displacement of people that house themselves around the Burnside Bridge, some of that as well. So there'll be a lot of changes. The landscape will really change dramatically. Ryan, doing okay job? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll have you back in 2 years when it's not 900 million, it's more than that. So, yeah. I don't want you to forget to pick up a rebroadcast schedule on the table right outside so that you can get another grasp of some of the information that was given by Dr. Skari or by Ryan. And our next Business and Leaders Luncheon in September is critically and financially important to you. It will be here. It may be very crowded. It's about ballot measure 118. That is a 3% increase at every stage on gross receipts at every stage as it goes up. It will increase. The money raised will be $6.8 billion, and it will then be distributed to every single person that lives in Oregon. Lives in Oregon. Every single person, $1,600 to every person that lives in Oregon for 200 days. So gross receipts, if you don't make money, you still pay this gross receipts. That's the that's the topic for next month. The chamber has already taken an absolutely no way, heck no opposition to this, and we'll be getting out more information to you. But that's going to be very critical for you to come and see how your industry or your business or your life at home will be impacted by ballot measure 118. In October, it's the candidate forum, always a very popular business and leaders luncheon. We're going to be too big for here, and so Dr. Skari has provided Tatani Gown Room at Mount Hood Community College for the candidate forum, and it's 15th of October. So I want to thank you again, Aero Sanitary, Umpqua Bank, Northwest Natural, Mountain Community College, Gresham Barlow School District, and Keith from MetroEast Community Media. I want to thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed the lunch very much. So go forth and make a profit. In your case, make better students. There we go. Thanks for coming.